Hello, I'm Vishwas and I'll be talking about learning low-rank tensors and depth-free multilinear circuits. So let me start by giving a brief outline of the talk. And so firstly, I'll be talking about tensor decomposition, and later I'll be talking about arithmetic circuit reconstruction, which, as it turns out, tensor decomposition is a very special case of arithmetic circuit reconstruction. So let me start by introducing tensors. Tensors are higher dimensional analogs of matrices that are multi-dimensional arrays with some elemental fields and few parameters to keep in mind while looking at tensors is the dimension of the tensor, which is D here, and the shape of the tensor, which is N1, N2 up to ND here. So here is an example of tensor. So this is a 2 cross 3 cross 5 tensor of dimension 6. A notion associated with the tensor is of rank of a tensor. So rank of a tensor is the smallest R, such that tensor can be written as sum of R rank 1 tensors. So a rank 1 tensor is a Kronecker or outer product of D vectors. And this is tensor rank. And the notion of tensor decomposition is the question of writing the tensor in this representation. The notion of tensor decomposition as well as tensor rank have found enormous applications, not just in computer science, but in modern science. Here are a few of them, and an interested reader can look up this survey by Landsberg. What we'll be focusing in this talk is looking at tensor as polynomial. So if I give you a tensor, let me define a polynomial out of it. So this polynomial is essentially writing all the entries along with its signature monomial. So signature monomial in some sense keeps track of which location the entry came from. For example, it's J1 in the first coordinate, J2 in the second coordinate, and so on and so forth. So here it will be x1 J1, x2 J2, and x3 J3, and you sum over all of them. As it turns out, this polynomial has information about the rank of it. That is, if you write your polynomial left out in this representation, the details don't matter here too much right now. But if you write in this particular representation, that is, you look at sums of products of linear forms, that this linear form comes from disjoint sets, then the number of summations, that is the top panel of this representation, is equal to the rank. Not only that, you can get the whole tensor decomposition out of this way of representing the polynomial. Also, the same story almost goes through for symmetric tensor as well, which are analogs of symmetric matrices. So you can define symmetric rank for them, which is summation of rank 1 symmetric tensors, which are just powering of a vector, that is tensoring D times. Again, you can define polynomial f tau sim corresponding to a symmetric tensor, and the corresponding representation which captures the notion of symmetric decomposition and symmetric rank is this model of sums of powers of linear form. Okay, so let me now show you what we know about tensor decomposition. The first result that comes to mind is the result by Hofstad that says tensor rank is NP-hard. I personally found this way of looking at it much better. This is a result by Schaffer and Stefankovich, which shows that tensor rank and system solving are equivalent. So this tells us that tensor rank is NP-hard. Not only that, it's NP-complete over finite fields and not even known to be computable over fields like rational. And surprisingly, these equivalents also showed holds for symmetric tensor rank, as Stauff showed. On the algorithmic front, we know algorithms which work really well if a tensor is made by choosing entries randomly from some distribution. But what we are concerned here is, what about worst case scenario where there is no assumption on the entries? So that is what we do in this work. We give a worst case tensor decomposition algorithm when the rank is bounded. So let's explore deeply into these results. So we show that if you give me a d-dimensional tensor of rank bounded by some constant k, so k will be constant throughout this talk. Then in poly-NG time, there's an algorithm which finds an optimal decomposition of tensor as a rank one tensor. And again, similar results hold for symmetric tensors. A small remark is that the input thing here that we need is just, in some sense, black box evaluations to this polynomial f tau. So if you look at a tensor of dimension d, it will have roughly n to the d entries. So it will take n to the d space and time just to read it. But our algorithms work in poly ND time. This is because we don't even need to look uh, at the whole tensor. We can just look at the evaluation and figure out from the rank and its decomposition from that. So, like, we could think of this evaluation as f tau as some sort of measurements of tensors. With this notion actually coincides when you are working with matrices, because their f tau is just left-right multiplication by vectors. So now we'll try to prove these results. So the basic ingredients we need here is one is learning sparse polynomial result by Clavin-Stillman, Benoit-Tiwari, which says that if you're given a polynomial in n variable degree d with just s monomials, then you can learn the sparse representation from the black box axis in poly n SB time. Another other two pieces of ingredients that we need here is transformation of a polynomial to just essential variables, which I'll elaborate on, and solving polynomial system on just constantly many variables. So let's first focus on this variable reduction bit. So let us first define what do you mean by essential variable. So if you can do an invertible linear transformation on a polynomial and reduce this variable to m, then you can say that the polynomial has just at most m essential variables. And this notion, so there is, you can also do this algorithmically. That is, if I just give you black box access to the polynomial, then you can find the transformation in randomized polynomial time such that just the first m coordinates is what your transform polynomial depends. And the other ingredient that I mentioned about was solving system of polynomials when the polynomials are just dependent on constantly many variables. So you're given a bunch of polynomials f1 equal to 0, f2 equal to 0, up to fm equal to 0 in n variables with total degree d, and you have to find a solution. So Grigoriev and Irad showed that if your number of variables are constant, then actually you can solve this problem in polynomial time. And this turns out to be very crucial for us. So let's try to come up with an algorithm for learning symmetric tensors. This is actually very, very simple. So let's recall we established this connection between symmetric tensors and learning sums of powers of linear forms. So let's just come up with an algorithm first. So notice that our circuit looks like this, where k is constant. So after linear transformation, you can think of a linear form as counting as one essential variable. So it has just k essential variables. So you can run this Karlini-Kayar algorithm to reduce the variables. Now note that since the polynomial has just dependent on k variables, then its sparsity will at most be d to the k. So you can learn the sparse representation of the polynomial as sparse. D to the k is polynomial when k is constant. And now you can kind of brute force set up a system of equation. That is, you write the circuit representation where this AI you think of them as constant. Sorry, AI you think of them as as unknown variables, and CE you know because of the sparse interpolation. And you look at this equation, you come up with polynomial equations by comparing coefficients here. note that the number of variables there is just k square, k for each summation, each addition gets here, right? So, uh, right. So you can use your system solving bit here, and using that, you directly get a some power some representation of f tau. Now, the case for general tensors, it's like gets slightly complicated, but still not too complicated. Um, so remember we have to learn this kind of disjoint kind of circuit, and uh, and the minimum representation. The minimum representation here with respect to the top pennant will correspond to the rank of the tensor. So again, the ingredients we need are learning sparse polynomials, set multilinearity preserving variable reduction. What I mean here is uh, the representation we need here has some kind of structure. There is this each linear forms coming from this joint set of variables. You can't directly apply Carlini's algorithm for variable reduction because the linear transformation there will just mess up the structure. So we need to come up with some new kind of variable reduction. And the third part is just solving system on constant variables. So we know first and third, let's elaborate on the second. So let's look at structure preserving variable reduction. So just to emphasize the structure, I've color coded everything just to demonstrate that here each term, each linear form comes from a disjoint set of variables. So note that here there are just n essential variables, although the total number of variables showing up in this polynomial can be n. So in order to do a variable reduction which doesn't mess up the structure, we do some kind of random substitution to all but one set of variables. So you get a polynomial. You get a linear polynomial out of it, and you repeat this process two more times. So you get P1, you repeat it again, P2 and P3, and this gives you essentially a linear combination of L1, L11, L2, and L2. Note that LIs are what you're looking after, and PIs is what you know. As it turns out, if you are working with optimal representation, you can show that these matrices will be invertible. And if these are invertible, you can just invert it and write LIs as a linear combination of PIs. Although note that you don't know these AIs, but you can assume them to be variable. That is, you have found a way to write LIs as this combination of P1, P2, P3, which you can think of as three different variables. So you have reduced the variables appearing in LI from in maybe n to just 3. And this is the process that we repeat for each and every variable set. So that is our set multilinearity preserving variable reduction. And let's see it in action, right? So if you have a tensor, so we are first working over small dimensional tensor. So your traditional 3-dimensional tensor comes into this setting. So here there will be just dk essential variables. I just found the linear form. There will be just dk many. So you can do the transformation we described and reduce the variables with just dk. Now again, if it's dk and dnk are both constant, then it's a sparse polynomial. You learn the representation. And third, you just write a flat out representation. So you write the circuit on the left hand side and the sparse polynomial representation on the right, and think of AIs here as variables that you want to find out, and set up a system of equation by comparing coefficients. Clearly, there are just constantly many unknowns here because it's dk d times k, so k square d, which is again constant in this setting. So you can solve it using system solving, which we discussed, to get a set multilinear representation of F tau. Now, in order to talk about higher dimensional tensors, we have to first talk about arithmetic circuits. So arithmetic circuit reconstruction is what I talk about now. So let me first talk about arithmetic circuit now. So arithmetic circuit is a way of computing polynomials syntactically. That is, you start with symbolic variables, you compute the polynomial by using just addition and multiplication gates. Two things to keep in mind: size is the number of gates of a circuit, and depth is the depth of this graph. Okay, good. And also you can layer your addition and multiplication gates. So for instance, this you can refer as sum of products of some circuits. And these circuits compute clearly here. You will have linear forms, you'll have product of linear forms here, and here you will compute sum of product of linear forms, which like a better way to write in a succinct way is like this. So this is what we call as depth 3 sigma pi sigma k circuits, where k represents top time. So these are your depth 3 circuits. Now you can start putting restriction on that. You can talk about multilinear depth 3 circuits. Multilinearity means a polynomial is multilinear if its individual degree of each and every variable is at most 1. And you can talk about your polynomial or your circuit is multilinear if each and every gate computing here in the circuit computes a multilinear polynomial. Similarly, you can talk about set multilinear polynomial. So set multilinear polynomial is exactly the polynomial which played a role while you were studying tensor. So let me first describe what a set multilinear polynomial is. So a set multilinear polynomial is described with respect to a partition. For instance, suppose I give you a partition of a variable set x into x size, disjoint partition, then we call this polynomial set multilinear with respect to this partition if each and every monomial has exactly one variable coming from each and every partition. Similarly, you can talk about your circuit being set multilinear where each and every gate is set multilinear with respect to the partition you mentioned. And if you look at it, you will realize that those circuits look like this. That is each and every linear form coming from disjoint parts. So let me describe about this reconstruction problem. Now, in reconstruction, you are given a black box access or membership query access to a polynomial f, and you are promised that the polynomial has small circuit, or it could be promised that it's small circuit that belongs to a particular class, and you have to output a circuit computing f. Now, you can give your output which belongs to the same class. That's called proper learning. Otherwise, it's called improper learning. So the problem of circuit reconstruction is expected to be really, really hard for most of the classes. Some reasons for it are the following: that if you can learn a class, then you can have explicit lower bounds for it, which we find really hard to prove. There's connections to tensor rank, which we described before in this talk, and also this problem of reconstruction is analogous to the MCST problem, which is very hard in the Boolean world. So we expect this problem to be hard. So what we show in this work is proper learning for various subclasses of depth-free circuits, which includes multilinear depth-free circuits, set multilinear depth-free circuits, and sums of powers of linear. Note that although the first class is much powerful and it subsumes the second class, proper learning for all these three classes are independent problems whose hardness can not really be compared. Although this is the first multilinear depth-free circuits are much more powerful, they are not known to be NP hard to learn. On the other hand, these simple circuits are known to be NP hard to learn. This is just a weird phenomenon of proper learning, that even simpler classes can be really hard to learn. As we mentioned, these are our result, and the second and third gives us the tensor decomposition and the symmetric tensor decomposition part. Important aspect of our result is that this is the first result which works for large fields. Previously, the result had some kind of brute force over a field where you go over each and every field element. So the time complexity had polynomial dependence over fields. We somehow get a way around it using system solving, and so our algorithm works in general for large fields as well. So the way all these reconstruction algorithms for classes of depth-free circuits work is because of some kind of uniqueness results which are known. So let me tell you what this uniqueness results are. So if you're given two representations which are in some sense optimal, and these are multilinear depth-free representations of a polynomial, then these representations are essentially the same. What do I mean by that? For each Ti here, there exists a Tj prime. That is, for simplicity, assume there's this one-to-one mapping. Then T1 and T2 are almost the same, barring just the constantly many linear forms. Right? So this uniqueness gives a lot of power to work with. And this uniqueness comes from rank bound, which is essential tool of study which people devise for studying PIT questions for depth research. I won't go into detail. Okay, so now with the quote unquote uniqueness in place, let's see how can we approach this high degree question. That is the question of learning set multilinear circuits in the high degree regime, which corresponds to learning or decomposing tensors when the dimension is really large. So think of dimension as square root n. It doesn't really matter, but just to think of it. So our algorithm is in kind of three phase. So let me describe phase one first. Right. So this is how your circuit looks. You can't see it. You can just evaluate it. You can't learn these representation when D is very high. So the first intuitive thing to try is set lots of variables to random value such that D decreases. And as D decreases, then maybe you can use your low dimension learning algorithm. That is, if the degree is small, so you project it to a low dimension and you learn this thing, right? If it's sufficiently above the rank one, that is, if D is greater than something like k to the 4 or something, then you can ensure via uniqueness that you will learn at least two linear forms coming from a particular partition. That is, you will learn, let's say, L11 and L21, depend with the linear forms which depends on X1. Now, this is the end of phase one. You used your general circuit, you projected it down to get just two linear forms. It turns out just a little bit of information is really helpful now. You can use this L1 and L2 to go modulo that. And so if you go modulo that in the original polynomial, you can see that now the optimal representation, the top panel will reduce from k to k minus 1 at least. So now you can use your induction hypothesis and learn this representation mod L1. Now this representation mod L1 and your original circuit representation, because of uniqueness, will have lots of common factors. That is, there will be only constantly many linear forms which are yet to be figured out. Everything else you know. From here, we'll use some kind of linear algebraic argument to get somehow the black box access to the missing part. And once we get the black box access to the missing part, we can somehow use this low degree setting that we proved earlier to come. And throughout the algorithm, if we came across a spurious solution, we can just throw it out at the end by doing a testing step. We can just check if our circuit computes the polynomial via PIT, and we can test. So this algorithm gives a set multilinear depth circuits even in the high degree set. So now so those were mostly about tensors. We also show a result about slightly more general class multilinear depth circuits instead of set multilinear. So we show that for multilinear depth circuits with constant top n, we can do proper learning for them in poly-NG time. The novel part about these things are that we were able to do it over large scale, which was not known before. And the techniques that we used there was clustering algorithm and sort of black box evaluation of clusters without going into any kind of brute force over the field. So this is all what I wanted to talk about today. Thank you.